I could not help but notice that my body appeared to be dead, and I was left wondering why. I can only describe it as feeling lifeless. I was eventually instructed to get up and go by someone seated next to me after that. After that, we traveled to an incredibly gorgeous place, the essence of which is beyond words for me to describe. It was very astounding. I was standing in the midst of a field with waist-high grass growing on all sides of me. This grass was distinguished from the others by its long, emerald strands topped with golden tips. It felt as though the grass was flowing in my way even though there was no breeze. Every thread appears to have its own distinct life force and essence. I had never experienced anything like it before. On my left were multicolored wildflowers. The way that each and every leaf and bloom seemed to be staring directly at me was what really got to me. I felt the unending love and energy of the flowers all over again. They were like nothing I had ever seen before. Words could not express how beautiful and colorful they were. On the left, the flower bed was surrounded by raised trees. The trees were covered in leaves in every possible color. When I looked around, the view was simply amazing. I could easily see my left side and my right side. It was obvious to the escort I was following that I should not turn around. He stayed at my side. His remarks made it clear to me that I couldn't go back, and I came to terms with that. It was incredibly simple. In front of me were three distinct cloud forms, a large one in the middle and two smaller ones on either side. The sky surrounded the clouds in a blueness I had never seen before. Despite the absence of wind, everything seemed to be flowing. The grass and flowers were still swinging in my direction, adding to the sense of movement and peacefulness. After a while, I became aware that the person seated beside me had vanished. Years later, when you give it some thought, you could start to wonder why you're the only one. But I wasn't alone. Instead, I was overcome with a deep sense of love and peace that kept me from wanting to go. I had never experienced anything like this before. Something happened after that of which I was not very proud. Like a lot of people have said, I had a life review done recently. Rather than watching a movie or picturing it in my head, it was more like going through it again and again. From the time of my birth until I turned 28 years old, I experienced every feeling imaginable. When I got this vision for the first time, I was a newborn born on my mother's stomach. I will never forget when I realized how much I had hurt other people. You might use whatever method necessary, even if it puts other people in danger, if you're itching for attention and success. I was always trying to out-dribble my opponents when I played basketball in Europe, because sometimes that was all it took to go to the next level. I became proficient at this, and it has helped me greatly in my career ever since. During this life review, I realized that the other person saw the times I might have acted unethically to advance myself. When you look back on your life, you would expect to feel guilty or ashamed, as though you were being punished or trampled. For me, that was absolutely not the case. It helped me learn new things. I have to get better at being polite. When toys and cars were not material possessions, my attention turned to how I had treated other people. This realization has been one of my life's most influential experiences. It has been invaluable to truly listen to others and learn how they feel about the things I say and do. Truth varies depending on the individual. I could accept what had happened now that I had gathered my thoughts and evaluated my life. There was no one to question me or to ask why I did what I did. I had moved past my actions and accepted myself. I realized that the review had been written fully from the heart when I stood there for a bit and gave it some thought. Someone could have approached me, beaten me, or put me in a cage in place of reprimanding me. I saw it as a sign because it seemed like someone was attempting to show me how my life ought to have been. I took full responsibility for my actions. The presentation was so clear-cut that it left no space for subtlety. A voice from the skies told me to start walking forward, so I got up and moved onward. One thing I observed as they emerged from behind the clouds was that they were luring me toward them with light beams. On the other hand, I sensed that the flowers and grass were drawing me in the same direction. It was the oddest feeling I had ever had, an energy I had never experienced before. I was heading toward the cloud, not floating. I felt like I was being pulled by the plants and dragged by the rays. It felt like a loved one hugging me, something I had never experienced before. Love was not a common expression in my Brooklyn family. The warmth and contentment I felt were so strong that I would have taken anything. As I approached, an arm protruded from the cloud. I had the opportunity to study an arm instead of a human being. Its arm was strong, and its upper forearm was particularly strong. I am a rather huge man, 63 years old, 270 pounds, yet the arm I saw was much bigger. When I looked at the hand, the way it was held seemed to be calling out to me. The hand was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. It appeared to be extending its hand toward me without making any form of movement. Besides, I couldn't see any color on that arm. Unlike the diversity of human skin tones we see on a daily basis, this hand had no color at all. It had the most beautiful, pure tone of any color I had ever seen. As I was about to take that hand to enter the cloud, I felt a kind of energy flow through my fingers that I had never experienced before. I almost took that hand, knowing it would be the last one to leave me. The moment my consciousness returned, the arm was pulled back. I reached out for it once more, but an otherworldly voice from above remarked, "This isn't the right moment for you yet. You're not quite done yet."